Thank you very much for this introduction. So, as you have already understood, I represent a very different angle. I believe that I'm actually the only one representing here the private sector. So, by no means am I an academic, and by no means do I call myself an expert on languages, but I've always been actually intrigued by languages by myself, and I've studied quite a few in my life as well. I won't mention which ones because many of those representatives are among the audience, so I would rather not embarrass myself, but it is a topic close to my heart. So as per introduction, what I do at Pipedrive, so I'm part of a human resources team. So basically, I make sure that our company has the best talent, but also we work hard to maintain the current talent that we have in the company. So before I actually get into how multilingualism works at Pipedrive, I will talk a bit about what Pipedrive is and what we do. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the term sales CRM tool, because very good, there is one hand there too. As I was explaining before a bit, usually, well, this is not the typical conference where I would attend. So I normally do presentations in either human resources or IT conferences where many people are familiar with this term. But basically, it's a sales management tool which helps salespeople to become better at what they do. So we just give them a platform to get more organized. As a company, we are founded in 2010, and it was founded by 5 Estonian guys who felt that there is a gap on the market in that area. So in that sense, already our roots are very much connected to Estonia. I have also indicated there that we are the best employer in Estonia. So this is not my subjective view. As a human resources specialist, of course, I strongly believe that. But at the same time, we actually have data to back it up. So we have gotten award and then the acknowledgement as being the best employer several years counting. And the picture there is basically our beautiful headquarters here in Tallinn, Estonia, where we have the largest proportion of employees. And what are these sparkling dots there on the map? This just illustrates basically our customer base. So as you can see, we are very global already when it comes to our users. So continuing with this global theme, how global are we actually as a company? Not only do we have customers across the world in 170 different countries, we are very, very international in terms of our own employees. So as already mentioned also in the introduction, so we have offices across the world in 8 different locations. And when we focus specifically on the Estonian office alone, we are very diverse, consisting of a lot of different nationalities. I will present also some data on the next slides. And all in all, then across these different offices, we have 600 employees. This is the language selection, so this doesn't actually represent the languages spoken amongst our employees, but just to illustrate that already as a product, we are very focused on different languages. So these are all the different languages that our product is available in. So some of them are featured across the different platforms. Some of them are more focused on the marketing or communication side. So diversity at Pipedrive, a topic very close to my heart. Being in human resources, my job day to day is to find the best markets, find the best channels to attract new talent to Estonia. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the local job market, but as it is in any country when it comes to IT sector, there is a huge shortage of specialists. So on one hand, why we are so diverse is because of the practical reasons. We need to get more people from abroad because there is a huge shortage of talent on the local market. On the other hand, we strongly believe in diversity as kind of a center in our company culture because, let's be honest, diversity creates a variety of ideas, more creativity. So we, from our own practice, can see that those teams, which tend to be most diverse, also function the best way. So some numbers here as well. We have more than 360 employees in our Estonian office. So we are a very proud Estonian company in that sense that, yes, we are global, but the biggest office is actually in Estonia. And the biggest proportion of different nationalities are actually in our Estonian office. So we have a whopping 34% of employees who are from a different background. They are not Estonians. They were not born in Estonia. And amongst those are actually 45 different nationalities. And we even have in recruitment, which I'm associated with, kind of a thrill or competition going on that every time somebody hires a person from a new country, it's like a celebration that, oh, so cool, like, you know, we have a first person from Iran or Pakistan. And of course, with that type of cultural diversity comes also more and more different languages. So, for example, last year alone, we relocated 28 people from abroad. And what was the most popular country among those 28 people was India. I can say that the year before that, it was Ukraine. So again, kind of tendencies of shift here in the local job market in the IT sector. But again, for this year, we have started to get more people from Pakistan and really the varieties across the world. And every time I do a job interview with a person from a country which I haven't actually had any engagement with before, for example, the other day I spoke with somebody from Philippines. Again, very interesting. So what are some of the challenges that we face as a global company, having all these different ethnicities and having all the different languages? So obviously, one of the main challenges is how to create and maintain a unified culture. And this is in the interest of all of us working at the company, not only for human resources. And by company culture, of course, we mean the way we behave towards each other, the way the leadership team talks to its employees, the way the teams function. Is humor encouraged? Is it okay to joke? How easygoing are we with each other? These kind of things. And of course, maintaining the Estonian identity. Is it even important? Do we need to maintain Estonian identity being an international or global company? Well, my strong opinion, being a very global citizen and living abroad several times and traveling a lot, at the same time very much being Estonian, is that yes, we do need to maintain our Estonian identity as well. The question is that does it necessarily need to be through Estonian language? And yeah, all of these challenges, I think what they have in common is actually the language, the way we communicate with each other, and which kind of language do we actually choose for that. So let's talk about that then. What are the languages at Pipedrive? So obviously, being an IT company, being a global company, English is the lingua franca for us and the official language for both internal and external communication. So when I say internal communication, it means all written form of communication or any type of oral communication. When we have presentations happening in the office, when we talk to each other in our internal communication channels, everything is always in English. I have made some screenshots here just to show how much we actually encourage people to use English. So these are just screenshots from our internal communication platform. And sometimes somebody slips and says something in Estonian, and then you can see the reactions here that English, please. And the same mentality is like, there are teams where there are still more Estonians than there are people who are non-Estonians. But if we go to lunch together, even if there is one person among us who doesn't speak Estonian, English is always the go-to language. So, but this is not the, English is the most widely used and the official language. Nevertheless, we also have Russian, Spanish, and Portuguese. Why Portuguese? Yes, we have an office in Lisbon, but I'm talking here specifically about the Estonian office. So Pipedrive is actually in a weird, has a weird title. So we are the biggest employer of Brazilians in Estonia. And that's why you will hear a lot of Portuguese in our office, and Spanish as well, because we have quite many people from South American countries. Russian, due to obvious reasons, we have a large proportion of Estonian Russians in our company, but also many people who have relocated from the ex-Eastern Bloc. So what are some of the upsides for us having English as a corporate lingua franca? Obviously, ease of communication. It's much simpler to talk to each other and make sure that the message comes across if it is with one language. Supports inclusion. What do I mean by that? One of the challenges that we face, in particular like human resources department, is how to make sure that we eliminate loneliness from people's lives who have actually relocated to Estonia. Let's be honest, Estonians are not the most outgoing and friendliest people. I'm not saying that we're not friendly, but our friendliness doesn't express itself always in a very obvious way. So we tend to be more reserved, and many foreigners, when they come here, they do need to tackle loneliness by giving them a language which they can communicate with, and language which is familiar with for them. It makes them feel less isolated. Supports diversity. Again, in a weird way it does, even if we are maybe stripping people from their own languages. It is easier for us to relocate talent from abroad, again, for them knowing that they do not need to start immediately learning Estonian and become very proficient in that language. Ease of integration is kind of linking back to the previous topics already. And again, creating a unified culture to be sure that our company culture is understood in the same way by everybody. And what is the downside of having English as a corporate language? So English jargon creeps its way in. For me, myself, sometimes when I listen to myself, when I speak in Estonian, it's not the nicest because I start to use, particularly when I talk about my work, I start to use these expressions which are just directly in English, because for me, the first which comes to my mind to express that thought is the English equivalent for that expression rather than the Estonian one. Again, because of the nature of the job, being so multicultural and using English day to day in the office, but also to attract new talent, the job expressions that we use tend to be always in English. Forgetting Estonian vocabulary. Again, very embarrassing for me to say, but I once had the situation where I sent like a work-related email in Estonian to somebody, and they actually replied to me that, are you this foreign Estonian who was born in some foreign country and has now recently moved back to Estonia? And I said, no, I'm not. And then she said, oh, okay, so did you translate this directly to Estonian? And I said, no, I just wrote it myself. And this is to show that it's becoming increasingly difficult to express yourself in a professional manner in Estonian language. So what I have written here as well is that Estonian as the language of the coffee corner. Yes, when I speak to my colleagues who are Estonians, when I'm taking my cup of coffee in the morning, of course I feel comfortable talking in Estonian. The same goes for all of our colleagues. But when we need to switch to this professional talk, when I'm doing an interview with a candidate for a software engineer position who happens to be Estonian, it's sometimes difficult for me to actually do that job interview in Estonian. And what it has also caused is expats find less opportunities to practice Estonian. So they do, again, when we talk about this coffee corner, people come and say, you know, expats who have started to study Estonian, tere, tere, kuidas läheb, and, you know, basically how you're doing. But when they go back to their workstation, they would probably not talk like that. They switch to English because this is the natural choice, because they associate the professional world with English. And what I have also noticed myself and some other people working in human resources is that the minorities who are born here in Estonia, so particularly perhaps Russian Estonians, those who when they came to our company, they spoke more Estonian. And throughout the years, because they are so much surrounded by English language, they actually have started to take English as the preferred choice of language as well, rather than trying to practice more their Estonian. So what about Estonian language? How important is that for us in the company? So obviously 65% of our employees are still Estonian in our Estonian office. So this is the predominant language that you hear in the office. We provide free of charge Estonian language courses to all expats who are interested, who relocate to Estonia. And we also do Estonian culture sessions, because we believe that if we can actually create this interest towards Estonian culture among our expats, they are also more interested towards learning Estonian language, and through that integrate better into the Estonian society. So we talk about, what kind of humor do Estonians have, or what is okay, what are okay conversation topics, what are not. But also we very much are taking pride over our Estonian heritage as a company by, for example, celebrating important Estonian holidays. When there is Independence Day, the day before, we always have this kiluvõileib in the office with some vodka shots, I'm sorry to say, but not promoting alcohol consumption, but this is a big Estonian tradition for the Independence Day. And we have a sauna in the office where we actually have a sign where we explain the Estonian sauna traditions. In the center of our office, we have a small wooden building to represent the beautiful Estonian wooden architecture, and a lot of other things like that. You know, Shrove Tuesday, vastlapäev, there are always vastlakuklid in the office. So they might not sound like big things, but by implementing these fractions of Estonian culture into our very multinational office, we do notice that people are also becoming more interested towards learning the language. So yeah, in summary, English in our company is still the preferred and encouraged language. And we associate it very much to be the professional language. So when we talk business, you do it in English. It makes the day-to-day communication a lot simpler among all the different nationalities that we have in our office, but also with the other offices that we have on the other sites. And Estonian is spoken widely amongst Estonians, and I'm very pleased to see those expats who have taken years of Estonian language courses in our company and who are now able to express themselves fluently, maybe not necessarily on the level that they are able to use it as a professional language, but they are able to have a full-blown conversation with me on a variety of topics. And on the downside, yes, Estonian language is very much influenced by English, so the jargon does creep in. But on the other hand, we do as much as we can as a company to raise interest towards Estonian culture, and by that also encourage our expats to take part of learning Estonian.